Welcome back to CUTV Match Play on location here outside Lilly Field on the campus of California University. And we're having a lot of fun out here in the weather, and we're going to keep things rolling here with our regional topics now as we get into the NHL and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Allison, you are a resident Penguin expert. They've managed to do some great things by continuing to play so well despite some serious injuries. We haven't seen or heard from Sidney Crosby in well over two months at this point, and Evgeny Malkin done for the season, but they've been able to plug the holes. Who do you attribute this to? Who gets the most credit for the team still rolling?
I think you have to credit everybody, really, but one huge thing that has come up, the goaltending struggled at the beginning of the year. They are now in the race for the Jennings Trophy, which goes to the team with the lowest goals against average. Brent Johnson and especially Marc-Andre Fleury have really stepped up this second half of the season with the team out. I mean, if you look at the roster, the Penguins have played 2 games with a full roster, and that is all they will play all season. Because Jordan Staal missed the beginning of the year, they played the Winter Classic and the Tampa Bay game. After that, Crosby's been out since, and Malkin's done for the year. So, really, all the players have stepped up. Brooks Orpik, he's out with an injury right now, but he really picked it up. Jordan Staal has stepped up, and Tyler Kennedy is another one who, coming into the season, there were some high expectations that he was going to be on the first line, play with Crosby, put up some goals. Well, he started to with Crosby being out, and he's done a great job of helping this team score some goals whenever they need to.
Yeah, Kennedy's been huge, but you also have to give credit to Staal and Kunitz, too. They've really stepped up their game. The Pens are 4-1 in their last 5, which is really surprising a lot of teams that they are still staying up. But it does contribute from that goaltending. Marc-Andre Fleury and Brent Johnson, when he steps in, they do an excellent job. They're going to have a game coming up here Sunday against the Rangers. That'll be another one of those tests for them. All
right, valid points for both these teams. The Penguins have been looking very good. But moving on now, we've got to keep things rolling as much as we want to keep talking. The Pitt Panthers entered the NCAA national tournament yesterday. They had a big game. We'll start with you with this one, Clint. Talk about their #1 ranking seed. Do they deserve that seed, especially after falling out of the tournament or out of the Big East tournament so early? Seeing what you saw yesterday from the opening of the NCAA tournament, do you think Pitt is deserving of that #1 seed, and what do you think they're going to do with it?
Well, they definitely played like they were deserving of it. They played a very good game against UNC Asheville. Asheville pretty much played a full court press the entire game, and Pitt just kept passing out of it. Pitt did an excellent job, showed why they deserved that #1 seed, and there was no real doubt. There was a little bit of doubt going into the seeding if Pitt would get that #1 seed, but they did prevail. They got that 1 seed, and they got a very good bracket. They have an excellent run to the Final Four, and if Pitt can play well, if they can get their points from McGee, keep them coming from Gibbs and Wanamaker, they're going to make an excellent run in this tournament.
Absolutely, I would have to agree with that. I personally, in my bracket, have Pitt going all the way. I know I've taken some heat from it from some of my friends, and I understand. But Pitt did start off a little bit shaky at the beginning of the game. I attribute that to UNC Asheville having to play a play-in game, and Pitt kind of being off for about a week. You talked about Pitt going out of the Big East tournament very early to UConn. UConn's a very good team. They got a 3 seed, I believe. Yeah, they got a 3 seed. So, I mean, the Big East, I think, was the toughest conference this year to play in, and so I think Pitt was deserving of the #1 seed.
All right. I do agree as well. I've got Pitt going to the Final Four. We have been teasing you a little bit about going all the way to the national champion. We've seen them fall before, but we'll have to see how that plays out. Moving on now, but while staying within the region here in the NCAA tournament, how about Penn State University getting their first playoff bid in well over a decade in the big dance here? And West Virginia, we saw them play yesterday as well. How about these two teams? How impressive have they been?
Well, Penn State got a very tough seed. Temple's a good team, and Penn State kind of worked their way in through the Big Ten tournament. So I think they got a very tough draw, and they did lose to Temple yesterday, 66-64. But I think Penn State almost would have been better off going to the NIT. As far as West Virginia is concerned, they had a big win over Clemson, 84-76. That is huge for them. I think they could go on a little bit of a run, but I don't think they're strong enough to go past the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I have West Virginia making a little bit of a run, a little bit of noise. Bob Huggins and his crew, they're used to being in this dance, so they're used to making a little bit of a run. Penn State was that surprise story. They played a couple tough games against Ohio State, and Ohio State is very good, as we've seen, led by Sullinger. But Penn State just couldn't get it going really against Temple. They made it a close game. Temple has been 0-9 in their last 9 appearances, so they had a chance. Temple just pulled it out briefly at the end, but a great season by Taylor Battle of Penn State. He really led that team. It'll be interesting to see if West Virginia can go on. They're led by Kevin Jones, a huge scorer and rebounder.
Yeah, I mean, West Virginia also has that experience. They're used to being in the tournament. Penn State hadn't made the tournament for years. They're not really a big basketball school. They focus a lot more on football. So kind of, I think, a little bit of the pressure. Temple's used to being up there either in the tournament or in the NIT. So we'll just have to see.
All right. Again, very good conversation we've got going on here. Now, finally, we're going to move on to our very last topic here in the regional topics. And how fitting is it that we're sitting outside of a ball field here, because we're going to be talking about the Pirates now. The Pittsburgh Pirates, and we've seen some good things, heard some promise coming out of spring training. But how about the Pittsburgh Pirates pitching rotation? That's something that hasn't got a lot of attention. They haven't been that solid in years past. Actually, they've been terrible if you ask some people. We'll start with you, Clint. How about the Pittsburgh Pirates rotation? Do you see anything promising there?
There's not a lot promising. There is a couple bright spots in this Pirates rotation, most of it coming from the bullpen. Evan Meek and Joel Hanrahan, they're the main pitchers that you're really focusing on that really save you. But you need those starting rotation, those first 5, they need to get you to that bullpen. And the Pirates are really struggling. It'll be interesting to see if Brad Lincoln can do better than he did last year and get into that rotation. He's a very promising young pitcher, so if he can do that. And also, Correa, I believe is his name. He, coming from San Diego last year, he was a 10-game winner last year, 12-game winner the year before. He's that player for the Pirates, that pitcher that they're really going to want to rely on and win them some games.
Absolutely. And I mean, the Pirates are a young team again. Excuse me. But they're going to need to get solid pitching at some point. I mean, you can't have people with with ERAs above 5 and that be good for your starting pitchers. That's not going to cut it in the Major League MLB. So they need to get some solid pitchers. I think they need to really just focus on rebuilding, start some younger players, and let them work their way through their difficulties.
All right, I do agree with you that, Clint, that they really do have a solid team underneath. After the starting pitching, their relievers and their closers, everything looks solid after that. It's just that starting pitching. It really is a shaky spot on that lineup, something they're going to have to take care of. All right, that's 2/3 of our show down. One more to go, the national topics. That's when things always tend to get hairy here. So stay tuned, because it's going to get exciting right here on Match Play.